Hi, I am Alan M. Frank, Remote Access and Control Subject Matter Expert for the Data Power and Control Division of Legrand. In a series of videos I'd like to call Unscripted Reality, I'm going to show you some actual live products being used, the Raritan products. Please join me in viewing these videos and let us know what you would like to see live. And then remember, contact your Legrand sales rep to get the products immediately for your own benefit and use. Okay, to continue on with our unscripted reality, we've got our focus on a single 55-inch display connected to a DKX4-UST, a user station. It's a wonderful scenario in the fact that when I log into the user station, I don't have to worry about a workstation or a laptop or something to run around and try and get connected to. I walk up to the user station, I get logged in, I get authenticated. In this particular case, you know, you could use LDAP or Active Directory to authenticate to your corporate environment or your customer's corporate environment, but in our case, I just have a local database. I'm a super admin at this point, and here's the list of my targets on the left-hand side. If I need to see what's going on in my facility, I launch a connection. Here's my DVR, so on and so forth. So I'm going to go from left to right. I have the very first display as a Windows 7 Service Pack 2 PC. It's an older laptop, but I like it because it's got a black and white photo on it that kind of represents what you'd be looking at if you were at a doctor looking at an ultrasound or an X-ray, a high-resolution X-ray. And even though this is not a high frame rate, it's a high resolution, and we're capable of going up to 4K, just to give you an idea. I'm changing focus now to a Windows Vista Home, which is kind of terrifying, but it's an old laptop computer that you can hear our sound from. We're actually watching some test videos that actually came with that old computer, and you can hear our sound playing in the background. Here's a blast from the past. This is a compact editing station that we had. And does anybody remember America Online?
Get online with America Online.
That's a bit of a blast from the past.
It's
a little bit too loud here. Let me go ahead and turn that down a little bit.
I love sending
but we can keep these audio feeds going
AOL email really keeps
at the same time. We're still listening to the ducks and the geese in the background. And we can do quite a few connections at the same time. At any time we want to cancel that audio, we can simply by going to the external devices and disconnecting the audio feed from that. Here is a remote session to a DKX4-101, and all I do is double-click and gain access to it. This is, as I said, remote across a dedicated VPN. I'm going to go ahead and hit keyboard macro for Control-Alt-Delete to get logged in, and provided I get that password right, we'll get this on the first try. But again, that's remote through a private VPN to a DKX4-101, so you'll see that come up. This is also remote to that same environment. I'm going to go ahead and log in here as well. I'm going to send it a keyboard macro through the KX3 and get logged in. Once again, you still hear our audio running in the background. Now we've gained attachment to two remote PCs. This is a QuickBooks server, and this is a file server. I actually have my engineering PC on it, and anytime I want to gain access to any particular computer, I simply double-click to bring it into focus, and then we're focused on that from a keystroke standpoint. Across the center here, let me go ahead and kill these audio transmissions, getting a little noisy. Across the center here, we have 3 DKX4-101 sessions. My first left on the left here, this one is actually a remote session at 1920-1080 to that VPN dedicated site that I was talking to you about remotely. And at this point, we're getting probably around 30 frames per second. Actually, it's dropped down a bit. It's down to 24 frames per second right now. I've seen it as high as somewhere between 42 and 54 frames per second. Oops, I didn't want to do that. So let me bring that computer back real quick. There it is. All right. So in the center, it's the same feed. It's going to catch up here in a quick second. This particular feed is 1280 720 local, and we've got that going through a wireless broadcast. We're getting about 60 frames per second at 720. 720 by 480, really low resolution because we're broadcasting video to several stations in the back. But these feeds are the same, and you'll see them and catch up here really quickly. The third one is a KX4-101 session to an Android laptop, actually a Chromebook, excuse me. And the resolution on this is just incredible. The KX4-101s just continue to blow me away in the quality and speed. Look at the detail in the glass blowers here. This is just pretty amazing. As I just messed up on my screens, I can tell you that should we have had this problem, that it's not a format that I wanted, and I lost some screens. I have saved screens, which is a feature of the UST, and I can go back very simply. I like to use the example of the Ignite because a typical television station has a 3 display computer times 2 that hosts the captions at the bottom of the screen, most news stations. And in the event that you would lose one of those feeds, you'd have to go to the redundant PC pretty quickly. And so if something were like that to happen, you could simply change to the redundant server with those feeds, you know, as quickly as we can reproduce these screens up on top here. I'm going to go back to the video feed that we had for tonight and go ahead and change it to everything that we had up just a minute ago. It was one of my last saved sessions for this video session of Unscripted Reality, and I like to show that because it's a feature of the UST that we can bring it all back the way that we had it just a minute ago. One of the screens I like down here, local through my DKX4-808, is actually an SNMP server. It looks like I got an arrow. If I needed to gain access to see what was going on with that, I've got my SX connections to my serial device, and I've got a port monitor going on over here to my Extreme backbone. So you can see how quick we can respond to things. I'm going to go ahead and turn those, kill those sessions. And that's pretty much it. Appreciate you joining us for the Unscripted Reality session. There'll be many, many more to come. Wanted to give you a brief scenario of the KX4-UST user station capable of 3 4K displays with dual Ethernet connectivity for redundancy, and connection primarily to the 3 screens you see on the center of the display, which is a KX4-101s capable of 60 frames per second at 1920 1080, 1920 1200, or 30 frames per second at 4K. Basically, from KVM, from data center, blocking, low access, inexpensive connections, all the way up to full-time 60 frame per second, high-performance KVM. This is the solution. Thanks for hanging in there. We look forward to chatting with you on our next Unscripted Reality. Thank you.